I do not like this game at all. Hey everyone! I'm Albert Boris. So, if you've been on my channel for a while, you probably already know that I have a lot of unpopular opinions when it comes to the Mario Kart franchise. The most infamous one of them all perhaps being that Mario Kart DS is a mediocre installment. I mean jeez, that video probably has the largest dislike to like ratio of them all. Was it really that bad? Still, regardless of my feelings of it, it all pales in comparison to my dislike of Mario Kart 64. Good lord, is this game kind of unplayable. And I'm not saying that because I didn't grow up with it or anything, because actually, I did. In fact, it was one of my first Mario Kart games even. I first played it at a friend's house when I was like 10, and then around a year later, I bought it on the Wii's Virtual Console as well. So I definitely have my fair share of exposure to it. But there's a reason why this is my least played Mario Kart game of all time. I mean, even Super Mario Kart got more attention for me. Which is why I thought, why don't I make a video review talking about it? After all, it's been a while since my last one. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not an awful game, just kinda. But like, it's totally understandable why for the longest time, Mario Kart 64 used to be the fan favorite of the series. After all, it was the first Mario Kart game to be set in a 3D environment, so you could argue that it set the foundation for the series in a lot of ways. And despite my dislike for this game, there are still numerous things that I really do like about this entry. But even for its time, and especially today, it's still an incredibly limited game, which in my opinion really only seemed to be as good as it was because the competition was rock bottom low.
Nah, you're wrong, Albert. This is one of the most addictive and multiplayer-friendly Mario Karts of all time. Did you even have friends growing up?
Let's not spoil the contents of this video, shall we? But yeah, there's a lot of unpack about this game. Both really good things, but mostly bad. So with all of that being said, I say, let's get started. First, let's talk about the juice that makes up Mario Kart 64. That, of course, being the gameplay. Obviously, this is probably one of the most important aspects of any Mario Kart game. If the gameplay isn't fun, then the whole game becomes a chore to play. Case in point, because this game absolutely fails at it. And granted, I shouldn't be too harsh, it's obvious coming from the first 3D Mario Kart, however, like most first attempts of things, it has not aged well. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. The controls. They are so unrefined. Even just simply turning left or right is a nightmare, because regardless of whether you're on an ice track or not, it feels incredibly slippery. And you can never go in any given direction without your character first going slightly in the opposite way. And by slightly, I mean massively. If there's a fake item box or a banana right in front of you, chances are it's going to be incredibly hard to avoid it, due to these aforementioned issues.
Dude, that's just a skill issue. Get better, and you'll be used to them.
Well, maybe, but controls can be difficult to master, but still fun at the same time. Take Mario Kart Double Dash for example. That's another more slippery Mario Kart, but the tracks being wider and smoother, and the drifting especially being responsive to compensate, still made it feel like a fair challenge. But in Mario Kart 64, yeah, no. For starters, most of the tracks are incredibly narrow, with much sharper turns, whether by walls, drops, or off-road, so there's much less room for error. And the drifting, yeah, that's not very good either. Like with turning, you have much less control over your drift in this game compared to future installments, to the point that it's just way more optimal to not drift at times. Okay, maybe that is a skill issue, but when most tracks are so narrow that practicing it is basically a death sentence, and it's safer to not, I'm not even incentive to get better. People like to give Mario Kart Super Circuit a bad rep for its controls, but if I'm completely honest, I'm not even sure why it gets more flack than this game for it. That game had much more swift turning, and there was much more control over your drift, since you could also jump to change your trajectory. Mario Kart 64's drifting, in comparison, isn't made for that. You just hold in, turn left or right, and hope for the best. Sometimes it works out, and sometimes it just gives up on you halfway through. It's almost like the game is actively trying to work against you. But even disregarding all of this, there's also a bunch of other small gameplay quirks that make the experience even worse. You thought colliding into walls was bad? How about spinning out while you're at it as well? You spin out from just about everything. Hitting a wall badly, hitting a palm tree, colliding with another player, and sometimes you're not even doing anything. And don't you dare driving into a banana, or else you're gonna be sliding uncontrollably for like 10 kilometers before you can even drive again. Not even the red shells can do their job unless you're in a wide open area. To be honest, all of this would be kinda funny if I also didn't have to get a gold trophy for Grand Prix. Like, on the surface, it's kind of hilarious how stuff like driving into a snowman will cause it to explode, sending you 50 feet in the air. But when it becomes such a common in a game I'm trying to seriously beat, that novelty wears off quickly. And then there's the rubber banding, worst of all. Okay, so you might ask yourself, what is rubber banding? Well, basically, it's the game's way of artificially creating difficulty when there is none. How exactly? Well, by having the racers behind you slowly creep up on you from nowhere. They can be dozens of light years behind you, but no matter what, they always find a way to catch up and pass you, usually on the last lap. Because of course it's always on the last lap. And if you make a mistake at any point, well, even worse, now they're suddenly 10 light years ahead of you, and there's basically no way of ever overtaking them. I've played all 9 mainline Mario Kart games, and to this day, I don't think a single entry beats this game out for bad rubber banding. Besides maybe Super Mario Kart, but we don't talk about that. But maybe I shouldn't be too harsh. Again, it was the first attempt at a 3D Mario Kart, but that doesn't make it more fun in the present day. But that's not to say that all parts of the gameplay was bad in this game, because admittedly, there's a few charming exclusivities to this game as well. I like how whenever you jump or drift or make a huge landing, words will actually come out of your cart. It's only a visual detail, but it's pretty cute nevertheless, and I also like how triple bananas are actually quintuple, giving you 5 bananas instead of 3. After all, the more the merrier, and the camera even zooms out when you use them, which not only gives you a better view of people behind you, but it also gives off the illusion that you're going faster than you are. And small details like this still enhance the gameplay, even if it is also ultimately futile compared to everything else. But yeah, this is just the gameplay. As major as it is, it's not the only factor to take into consideration. How about the courses? We're not getting much better, are we? Now, Mario Kart 64 doesn't have the worst track selection in the series, after all Super Mario Kart exists, but this one is fairly underwhelming as well. Now, Mario Kart 64 probably has some of the most bizarre tracks in the series, as far as atmosphere and gimmicks go, and that's both a good and bad thing. Typically, Mario Kart games are known for being very chaotic and bursting with energy, but Mario Kart 64 in contrast has a much more surrealistic feel to it. Most tracks are kind of devoid of life and moving objects, and instead opt for a much more quiet and desolate atmosphere. The soundtracks typically feel more empty and slowed down, even the ones that try to be chaotic, and most of the tracks themselves are flat plains that allow you to see nothing but endless landscapes stretching on forever. It's especially apparent in courses such as Frappy Snowland, Bowser's Castle, and Yoshi Valley, which perfectly capture these solitary vibes. Yoshi Valley perhaps especially, because that track can't even keep track of who's in what place, further increasing the feeling of being alone. And actually, I kinda like this. It's a unique vibe we don't really get in Mario Kart anymore, and it invokes deeper thoughts than anything else the series could. In fact, the only course that feels somewhat normal to me would be Banshee Boardwalk, the game's resident ghost stage. The booze floating around, a couple of the bats and jumping Cheeps makes it feel a bit more alive than the other tracks, or at the very least like a regular Mario level. And even that's a stretch considering how eerie it is. But even if I appreciate this change in atmosphere, most of the tracks themselves here still aren't very good. Let's take a look at a few of them. Luigi Raceway, by far the most generic opening course in the entire series. It's just a letter B, and it has some hot air balloons, absolutely nothing else. Moo Moo Farm, who doesn't love a simple loop with static cows just randomly sitting in place? Calamar Desert, the train blocking your path is cool for about 5 seconds, and then it becomes just a barren wasteland oval. Sherbet Land, okay, do I need to say anything? Or Royal Raceway, where almost every narrow turn sits on an 80-degree riverbank, making it super easy to accidentally fall off this track. No, being able to drive to Peach's castle from Mario 64 does not excuse a lifetime of wickedness. And how about Wario Stadium and Rainbow Road? For the former, who doesn't love driving for 5 minutes on just a couple of random hills and ramps? And Rainbow Road is an even bigger offender of this, where you're racing for at least 6 minutes on just road. Is it beautiful? Yes, absolutely. It's probably got one of the most emotional atmospheres ever in a Mario Kart game. But is it also a complete waste of my time? Yes, that too. The fact that it has guardrails surrounding the whole track is actually embarrassing, because even without them, the course would still be really easy with its long, smooth turns. This is not to say that all tracks are bad. In fact, some of my favorite tracks ever, like Bowser's Castle, DK's Jungle Parkway, and Toad's Turnpike, originate from here.
Wait, Toad's Turnpike is also generic. Why are you giving that special treatment?
Well, yeah, I know it's just a figure 8, but I'm willing to let that slide because it's supposed to feel like a real highway at night, and at that, it absolutely excels. From the psychedelic music, the red fading twilight, all of it makes for one of the most surrealistic atmospheres in the whole game. In fact, it's pretty much the pioneer of what I love about this game's vibes. Still, most of the tracks are just uninteresting, and coupled with this game's awful controls, I just get irritated when playing them. But you know what? Maybe I'm just looking at this game from the wrong angle. After all, personally, I'm usually just a single player gamer, focused on getting all the gold trophies and unlockables. And in that respect, it's not the most worthwhile experience at all. Growing up, I didn't really have much to do with the multiplayer in the game. I only owned one classic Wii controller after the second one stopped working, so I didn't really get to experience this aspect of the game until much later, now that they added it to Nintendo Switch Online. Actually, my first playthrough ever of Mario Kart 64 was at a friend's house on an original N64, but after that, nope, I had no exposure to multiplayer. But how is the multiplayer? Well, it's actually kind of really fun. I'll be completely honest, playing this game with other people almost completely absolves the game of most of the issues I brought up. Of course, in single player, a lot of the glitches and gameplay quirks I brought up make the game more annoying because it means 100%ing it is gonna feel more unfair than it should. But when you're just playing with other people, you're not playing to win, you're just having fun through the exclusive versus and battle modes. And that way, you can more easily laugh at the stupidity without the added pressure of having to win. It's still not perfect, after all, a lot of the tracks are still forgettable, and it would have been more fun if the controls were reasonable, but it's increasingly clear that Mario Kart 64's charm lies much less in the actual contents of the game and more so in the multiplayer aspect. The Nintendo 64 was the first gaming console to have 4 different controller ports, so that you could have up to 4 people playing together as opposed to just 2 in Super Mario Kart, so it makes sense why they focused so much on this part of the game. Now granted, however, if you're playing in versus or battle mode, there's no CPU players involved at all, but I mean they rubber band so often in this game that it's sometimes just more fun to take a break from them, unlike in a more fair game like Super Circuit. And if anything, the lack of any additional CPU players actually helped the whole lonely atmosphere of Mario Kart 64 even more, just because there's less people. Speaking of multiplayer though, let's talk about battle mode. Mario Kart 64 probably has the most interesting take on battle mode in the series, and in some ways the best too. There's only balloon battle and 4 stages, although thankfully they're all unique this time, unlike in Super Mario Kart. And on the surface, it's a pretty standard last man winning type of game. Hit all the other players' balloons and you win, except it's actually not that simple. See, if you're playing with at least 3 or 4 players, the 3rd and 4th place losers will actually turn into a bomb first, and they can continue to wreak havoc on the map by trying to blow up other players. Or well, okay, you only get 1 chance, but that's enough. It's great because not only does it give the losing players something more to do than just wait around for the match to end, but it makes it even more chaotic when you have an additional hazard to worry about. Seriously, if battle mode was single player in this game, this would arguably surpass Mario Kart DS on that front too. Actually, maybe not. See, unfortunately, the battle stages themselves are... yeah, they're not that great. Big Donut is just boring. There's no substance, as it's basically just a huge circle, with some random brick buildings tossed in. Yay. It's actually a wonder that they made it so much better in Mario Kart 7, but hey, that's the glider to you. Block Fort is amazing in Mario Kart DS. In Mario Kart 64, it's way too narrow and kind of large, making it kind of hard to get to each other, and the constant 90-degree turns everywhere, as I've said previously, are not very kind on the controls. And Double Deck is especially too big, and would be way better in a battle mode with more than 4 players, and yet it's the only one that's never returned. The only battle stage I think is really good in this game is Skyscraper. It's smaller than the other one so you don't get lost, and while there's a lot of places to fall off, the map is curved in a way that makes it more bearable with Mario Kart 64's controls. So while it gets wild and frantic, it never feels unfair, and as a result, I always come back to this one when I can, which is to say like once a year, because how many people have spent money on the expansion pass? But still, the multiplayer might be unusually fun in this game, but it still doesn't excuse that single player is a nightmare, which is what most people are just gonna have access to. And here's an even worse thing, not enough that single player is flawed, but there's not much incentive to play it all to begin with. At least not in this time and age, because guess what? There are no unlockables. Or well, almost none. This is why I don't focus all the marketing and enjoyment on multiplayer. In a multiplayer game, it makes sense to have most things be available from the start. If all you want to do is have fun with friends, it can be a bit of a chore having to first go through a set of hoops in order to earn it. Especially in a game as challenging as Mario Kart 64, although on the other hand I'd also argue it makes the reward more satisfying, but whatever. The problem with this though is that not only did the N64 not have online, and playing with friends isn't exactly always a possibility, but moreover it makes single player completely and utterly underwhelming. Because everything in this game is just handed to you on a platter. The characters are all available from the start, although that's expected when there's only 8 of them, but the real issue is that so are all the game's tracks as well. Mushroom Cup and Flower Cup, that's fine. Some things need to be available from the start, so why not the beginner tracks? Star Cup, Maybe that's a bit generous, but I suppose it's fair to have a harder copy available too. But the special cup? The grand finale? Why is this unlocked from the start? It's supposed to be the special reward for beating all the other cups, with its most difficult and also special tracks, as the name implies.
Nah, Albert, you're looking way too deeply into this. There's nothing special about wasting 6 minutes of your life on Rainbow Road.
Well, at least we can agree on that, but still. To be honest, as petty as this is gonna sound, but this is the main reason I haven't played Mario Kart 64 as much as the other games. If all the courses can just be played on the go without putting in the effort to earn them, what's even the point of trying to torture myself for a gold trophy on them? I can just play them all once so that I know what they're like, and then just play a different game instead. Because with all of the pre-existing issues I've already mentioned for this game, there's not even much incentive to sit down and play it. Unless you're that desperate for a different title screen. You know there's a problem when I spent more time on Super Mario Kart just because the special cup actually had to be unlocked there, giving me more reason to play it.
But, Albert, there is an unlockable. You just don't know about it because you never bothered to look for it.
Oh, shut up, Bertel Oris. Right when we were in agreement over something? But okay, yeah, there is actually one unlockable in the game. When you get all the gold trophies in 50cc, 100cc and 150cc, you unlock its secret new engine class, Mirror Mode. Yeah, believe it or not, but Mario Kart 64 was actually the first game in the series with this bonus, which basically allowed you to play the courses mirrored. Left is right, and right is left now. And it was a fun little new challenge. And I mean, on one hand, we should have gotten a reverse mode instead, since I feel like driving backwards would offer a much more unique experience, but hey, at least this is something. Do I want to unlock this though? Well, I mean, I want, but after witnessing how unfair the AI and controls are in this game, no. Get out, Mario Kart 64, you're no longer welcome in Green Pipe City. Okay, maybe I should take a bit of a chill pill. Now remember, this is ultimately just my opinion on the game. If you're a huge fan of Mario Kart 64, more power to you. Don't let my video sway your opinion of it. Not that I think I'd be able to anyways, but yeah, how should I conclude this review? I know. Mario Kart 64 was, in many ways, a revolutionary game in the series, with its new 3D engine, but like with most first attempts, it wasn't without flaws, and despite the chaotic multiplayer and unique atmosphere, it suffers greatly from aged controls, punishing gameplay quirks, and just an overall lack of incentive to pursue single-player content. Overall, I'd give this game a 4.5 out of 10. Subpar. It's definitely not awful, and it does have its charm, but I can't remember when was the last time I played it for fun. So what do you know? This is my first fully negative review since 2021. You're not forever alone, the top 100. But yeah, overall, that was my review of Mario Kart 64, and it was definitely about time that I made another review video. I would make more of them, but they're not the most popular videos, okay? Hopefully, you all enjoyed watching this video though. But what is your opinion on Mario Kart 64? Did you agree with me or not? If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, if you want to see more videos like this. And also join my Discord server, Green Pipe City, as well as follow me on Twitter and Patreon for more updates. And in the meantime, I'm signing off, until next time.